How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to be featuring the Drake, the tier 8 British heavy cruiser. The Drake, not really a ship I'm particularly fond of. I pretty much just got bored and decided to play things that I, usually don't play. Stuff like Drake, Rune. I'm sure other things exist. But yeah, decided to take Drake out. Had a pretty decent match for what it was. Drake, I don't know, just doesn't have enough. The reload, I think, could be maybe like 1 second faster. It's sitting at 16 seconds with reload mod, which I sort of feel is a bit anemic. I think it could be a little faster. Maybe 14, 15 seconds, somewhere in that realm. Probably would make this ship a lot more comfortable. Also, the armor, not the best, although you do have a super heal to kind of make up for getting smashed a lot. Most ships, especially battleships at this tier, are going to overmatch pretty much your entire hull, maybe not your deck, but having 27 casemate and 25 bow, and your bow being absolutely massive, doesn't really help. So pretty much kiting and farming is the name of the game, usually. Unless you try to take an aggressive position, realize that Michelangelo's charging in, and the fact that, well, you can be absolutely dev-struck by Michelangelo's AP if he decides to shoot it, and are forced into a awkward position to bow tank a GK and an Alaska. Not the best situation, but it's currently what we're going to be forced to do just because of the Michelangelo charging in and nothing really on the other side to stop it. Weird bug that honestly happens kind of frequently now. I'm not really sure if it's wargaming servers or something on my end, but a lot of the time our reticle is white, as in it can shoot, guns are loaded, but then the gun doesn't want to shoot, like our first salvo at the GK, so we had to like wiggle our camera to try and get it to shoot, as our torpedoes are actually lining up pretty nicely for the Michelangelo because he decided to turn around. Yeah, just kind of weird. Bow tanking a GK, 25mm bow, massive citadel, terrible idea. But fortunately for us, I think the GK is more interested in incapacitating our turrets. So he's aiming pretty high, so we're not taking any major citadel damage. Although, if we angle a little too much and show our side, shells might actually land in that 27 casemate, and then we'll take some big chunks. We preemptively pop our heal just because I'm assuming we're going to take a big hit. But that big hit doesn't really ever come. The Michelangelo goes down to our torpedoes through a flood, which is kind of amusing. And, well, we're sort of safe. Enemy destroyer was spotted going back towards their spawn. But there's also now a Montana here, which doesn't help. But the deity being unspotted, I also have a feeling he might turn around, go through B, and torpedo me from the side, or possibly even YOLO me. I don't exactly have sonar to see him before he comes around the corner. But also, if these battleships decide to charge straight in, not really sure what's waiting for me while I reverse. So kind of in a bad situation here. Kind of need to just stay here and fight things bow in. We do have a heal coming back in 10 seconds, so we do sort of have that to keep us alive if needed. And we also have torpedoes reloaded if a battleship decides to try and YOLO us. But now I think it's time to go forward. We spot the Montana, who for some reason ended up beaching. He shot the island, those were ghost shells. And now we realize we have an opportunity to actually turn away and get out of here. But unfortunately, the destroyer actually didn't go back to B, and he's basically in their spawn behind the Montana. Torp show up, we have to turn into dodge as much as we can. If we turned away, I'm sure we would have eaten more torpedoes, and we were also preparing in case there were more torps and not just one set. And now we beach. We're in a lot of trouble. Montana, all he has to do is get off the island and push in, and we're basically fish food. So we just need to reverse, hold our torps out, and if the Montana decides to poke its bow around, see what we can do. Maybe RNG gods will save us, have his shells land short or over pen. But I doubt that's going to happen. We start launching torps preemptively, either for the Montana to come around the corner and start eating them, or if he sees them before coming around the corner, he decides to slow down and stop, because I don't think anyone in their right mind will just simply charge out, eat torps to try and dev strike a cruiser that you may or may not even have an opportunity to shoot. Montana does get spotted though. He was actually just reversing away, made no attempt to actually push in. So I guess we really weren't in any sort of trouble at all. Enemy GK kiting to the back of the map. Our destroyer is sort of on the flank. Well, sort of. He is on the flank, pretty much the border, but he's providing spots, and I'm sure he's going to chase the GK. So this gives us a pretty good opportunity to farm and use our main guns. One of the good things about Drake's HE 234 is having quarter pen. There's, I'm pretty sure, only one battleship that could shatter your HE with its deck armor, and that's the Sovietsky Soyuz, which sits at 60 millimeters. And having quarter pen on 234s, you have 38 millimeters of pen. Even ships like Yamato, which also has a pretty thick deck of 57 millimeters, you can pen with your HE. The current build I'm using on Drake, we also have a 26% fire chance. I think the base is 24. I might be using the universal guy well, on this build, mainly because the Bruce Fraser commander I have is currently built for the defense, and yeah, I'm not really fond of having to switch my inspirations and skills over and over, because that's quite a bit of commander XP that I could otherwise be using to purchase commanders for either duplicates for the commendations, or just overall universals for commanders that's been maxed out. Enemy destroyer still hasn't been spotted. He's basically in the spawn where the GK was, which is where we see those torpedoes coming from. But instead of wasting our time, I think we're just going to simply charge to the other side of the map. There is an enemy Colbert that's in B currently, and the enemy rune at A. I think we have a better chance at fighting those cruisers than fighting a destroyer that's probably not going to get spotted, because I don't really have that much faith in our destroyers to find him. But it's also a big waste of time, because we are now unspotted, so that means the destroyer ran pretty far away from where we are, and it's just going to take a very long time to actually go and find him. Drake's HE though, because it has such high pen and a high alpha, I feel like we're going to have a pretty easy chance dealing with the enemy Colbert, so we don't really have to worry about anything. Obviously, we also have a super heal and torpedoes if it does come down to a brawl. I think Drake's armor is also spaced, so part of me wants to think that the Colbert wouldn't actually be able to Citadel Drake, because I'm pretty sure it's the torp belt is 177 millimeters, but then there's a big space between that and the actual Citadel, and I feel like the shells probably wouldn't even reach the Citadel before it detonates, especially because for every millimeter your shell pens, your AP shell pens, the shell velocity will go down by 1 meter per second. So for a Colbert, I mean, at point blank range, honestly, I have no idea what the shell velocity is, but that 177 millimeter torp belt, I mean, it's going to slow it down by 177 meters per second, which honestly is kind of a lot for, I would assume, destroyer guns. And in a case with something like Yoshino, it's sort of in a similar case. The Citadel is spaced from the torp belt, so stuff like Elbing even has trouble citadeling Yoshinos unless you're extremely close. So I'm not really that afraid of the Colbert. Elbing, for some reason, starts laying a smoke screen. I mean, I'm not complaining. Team play just randomly happening. It is what it is. Unfortunately, Colbert is bow in, so we kind of just have to try and target his superstructure. Elbing launches torps, and then we also launch ours with the hopes that, well, maybe Colbert does end up dying. I'm sure he has sonar, since he's been unspotted for quite a while and really hasn't had anything to deal with. Colbert starts charging in. He doesn't really eat any torpedoes, and we can definitely tell he's dodging them all. So we decide to try and go for a drive-by. I think I mentioned that I'm using the Universal Commander, and I think we have the Turret Traverse skill in the second slot, and not the Concealment, which I guess also could have worked. And we are able to turn away, which was kind of risky, but I think my assumption was right. I'm pretty sure all he got was pens with his AP, so I think we're fine, and having that last heal definitely helped. But Z52 still alive. He was sort of at the back. I think he got a little closer from riding the border, but now it's kind of a situation where maybe we just go cap and win out on points. Friendly's pinging where he is, so we keep our guns pointed there just in case he decides to show up. And just so happens the Z52 is very close. We do get a decent salvo in, but obviously not enough since the Z52 is still alive. But at this point he's so close, I figure maybe we can just simply chase him and well, maybe finish the game sooner. But unfortunately our sonar ended because we had used it charging into the Colbert, and now yeah, we're in Z52 sonar. He's also starting to use his smoke, which I guess he just never used fighting any other destroyers. And yeah, now we're in a bit of trouble. One set of torps pass, so we know he still has one more. Since we're still perma-spotted by sonar, we might as well shoot. We were detected for a split second, which kind of gives us an idea of where he was. He laid his smoke and turned back to the right, because if he was still in front of us, we would have stayed spotted and not just on sonar. And then as we come around the corner, we get spotted again, but once our detection shrinks, we know he's still behind the smoke. So we just simply keep charging in. We know where he is by using our detection and the sonar detection, figuring out when we're actually spotted. It also helps that Z52 is shooting, but unfortunately there's no one else close enough to actually spot him. And we've also been chasing for quite a while, so I'm sure there's torpedoes showing up again, which they do. We eat one on the bow, but fortunately for us, we took so much damage in this battle. Our bow is saturated at this point, and it just becomes a damage battle to who can finish off who first. Z52 kiting away though, only has access to one turret with 2 guns. We turn full broadside to get all of our guns to bear. He's been shooting HE, so we're kind of safe. And Z52 finally goes down. Kind of lucky, if I'm being honest, that we survived. I think if Z52 was a little more careful, he probably could have just sat in his smoke, waited for me to get pretty much right on top of him, and then launched his torpedoes at point blank range, guaranteeing him landing all of it. Especially because we didn't have sonar, and I'm pretty sure we were close enough to have him in sonar at one point. But we end up surviving. Z52 goes down. We have a pretty good game in the Drake after not playing it for quite a while. Probably would have been better if we had an epic mod or something, but for ships that I don't play very often, doesn't really make sense to put those mods because it is quite a bit of steel. And here's our build using John Jellicoe, the Universal guy. We had 2% fire chance, we added more turret traverse, ship speed, range, fully packed for all the heals, which did definitely come in handy. Membeli to help with the extremely long reload, and Kuznetsov to sort of make up for some of the range that we don't have for not having beyond range with an actual cruiser commander. So sort of makes up for it with that last row skill and Kuznetsov. And yeah, just looking at Drake's armor, it's a massive citadel, big schnoz that you can overmatch with pretty much every battleship, just not Carl. Poor Carl. But yeah, anyway, that's pretty much it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more, and share it with your friends, or leave a comment down below on other ships you want to see in the future. But anyway guys, till next time, aloha.